Welcome everybody to the Del Valley Education Association candidate question and answer session. And thank you for those who are watching for tuning in. As you are probably already aware, DVEA has endorsed candidate David Albert for single member district seat 2. And this office will represent the Beatty and Riverside area of Del Valley ISD on the DVISD Board of Trustees. We're very excited to be here today. We'll begin just with some brief introductions of the officers who will be asking questions, and then we'll move right into our interview. So Katrina, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Katrina Van Houten. I'm a math teacher at Del Valley High School and the president of Del Valley Education Association.
Thank you, Katrina. George?
My name is George Flores, and I'm the treasurer of DVEA.
Very nice. And Jason?
My name is Jason Wiley, and I work as an organizer for TSTA, and I work closely with the Del Valley Education Association.
Perfect. And my name is Shay Smith. I am the Vice President of Communication for DVEA, and I'll be facilitating the meeting. And I am honored to introduce our candidate, David Albert. David, welcome. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. That's something you get asked a lot when you're running for office. I've tried to think, how do I describe myself? I'm an educator, I'm an activist, I'm a professional political scientist. But I think of all of those things, the educator is the one that's really the most important. I teach, I have a PhD in political science, and I teach at Austin Community College. And so I've really dedicated my life to being an educator and to trying to bridge differences. And that's actually why the logo, which is on my signs behind you, that has the Montopolis Bridge, because I see it as a symbol of bridging differences among our community and between communities and bringing people together. So, and if I can also just share something from my own tradition, I come out of the Jewish community, and I think about a story sometimes. It's what we call it is a midrash, a tale, and there's a story that after Cain slew Abel, and God asked him, "Where is your brother?" And he said, I am not my brother's keeper." And God doesn't answer him at that moment. But the Midrash suggests that the rest of the Bible, the rest of the tradition is a response that we are all we are all our brother's keepers, that we all need to care about our community and those in it. I'll share one other thing related to that, which is a poem I've been thinking about. John Donne's poem, "No Man is an Island." And I take that to heart, that we are not islands unto ourselves, and we must all work together, build bridges, come together, and that's what I really want to see us doing at in Del Valley.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. We really appreciate that image of the bridge as well, and your willingness to collaborate. Okay, Ms. Katrina, we'll ask the next question. Katrina, go ahead.
So why are you running for the DVISD school board, and what are your goals for DVISD?
Also a complicated question, I guess, but why am I running? Well, largely because I see needs unmet, because I believe the experiences that I have is really just puts me in a position to serve. And I believe the board needs experienced people, folks that really are in a position to serve without pay. And are willing to put in their time and their energy to make our community better. And that's complicated and difficult and time consuming, but I believe it's absolutely necessary. Goals, there are many of them, and they're on my website, davidfordelvalley.com. Just, well, figure I should throw that in there. But one that comes out of my work at ACC is that there isn't an ACC campus in the district. Riverside adjoins it, but which is where I teach mostly. But ACC does own land in the district. That they land banked there about 6 years ago, and had sort of promised that they would build a workforce center out there. With Tesla coming in, now is the time, and I'm going to push my employer, and I know all the muckety mucks there, to really work on that. I also want to see us move to a more of a community schools model, where more wraparound services are available through the school to our students. I want to make sure that our curriculum is the most modern and up to date. That, and that includes things like a modern sex education curriculum, the 1619 project, where students get a realistic view of the history of this country and this state. Obviously issues that sometimes are controversial but shouldn't be, like science, evolution, global climate change. All of that needs to be part of our curriculum. And specifically related to teachers, teachers and schools, I'm very against charter schools coming into our district. I mean, to the degree that we can work to prevent that, against the use of vouchers, which is always a fight at the legislature. And I believe we rely too much on standardized testing to evaluate our teachers. So those are just some of the many issues that I'm concerned about, that I want to see become, a real part of an agenda. And I feel a lot of our responses on the board have been kind of ad hoc, and we've done okay, but we really need to be more proactive in what we're doing as a district.
Thank you, David. All right, we're going to head over to Treasurer George. George?
What do you see as the biggest problems confronting the district?
Well, there are many. One that is kind of both long-term and now specific is the issues of funding. Probably the biggest one. Systematically, education in this state has been underfunded for decades, and it got worse after 2011 during the last recession. And we actually had the best legislative session we've had in decades in 2019 with HB3, where we got some more funding, you all got raises, and everyone was happy. And now it looks like those gains are in real danger. There's going to be a budget crisis because the state relies on sales tax and oil revenues, and given the current recession, it's very likely they're going to come after our budgets, come after the new state monies. Now, hopefully there'll be a Biden administration and there'll be more money coming from Washington. There better be. But even that probably won't be enough. And we've got to convince we've got to all work together, community, as I was saying before. The trustees have got to be willing to work with trustees and administrators and and teachers and unions around the state to make sure that we have the money so that we can fulfill all the plans that we're talking about, because it all is going to come back to that at some level. And so that the biggest threat is basically the Republicans in the legislature. So
thank you. I've heard you
point on it.
I've heard you mention the legislature several times, which is exciting to us because we are looking forward to having more local advocates stand up for us at the next legislative session. So that's very good to hear. Okay, we are going to head to our organizer, Jason Wiley, for the next question. Jason?
Thanks, Shay. David, are you willing to commit the district's resources to make Del Valle Independent School District the top employment choice for school employees? And how would you propose to attract and retain those employees?
Again, that kind of does come to money to a great extent, although not solely. I mean, we made strides that we need to try to protect in terms of pay and benefits and professional development opportunities. But there is a deeper level, which is employees, teachers and other employees need to be respected. There needs to be civility, dignity. They need to be treated as the professionals they are. And that's a big part of the way we improve retention. There's a pretty high turnover rate. The last I heard it was around 20%, and that's too high. I think when we talked about this a while ago, I told you that the school, I grew up in an elementary school in Pennsylvania, and I had two older brothers that were 9 and 11 years older than me. And when I got to to elementary school, all the teachers knew my older brothers. They'd all had them, and one of them was a real mischief maker. So so it was kind of like there was that continuity, and the teachers had been there for decades often, and we need that kind of continuity so that our teachers really are. I hope maybe we can even work on plans so that more of the teachers, to encourage more of the teachers to live in the community, because many of them do live outside of it. I'm not exactly sure how to do that, and I'd certainly be interested in your ideas on how to make Del Valle more attractive to teachers who live here, integrated into the communities, and aren't just kind of visiting to be teaching there. And not just the teachers, all the employees.
Well, certainly, we can definitely agree on that. Okay, I am actually going to ask the next question, and that is, what is your position on providing vouchers for students who attend low-performing schools?
Well, as I said, this has been a fight at the legislature for a long time. It's a fight around the country. It's part of an overall initiative to privatize the public sector, to make the public education sector into a profit center. And it's the wrong way to go. Education is a public good. And so they want to, there's at least two major problems, probably more. One is that this idea just drains money out of the public sector, away from our public schools, into an alternative competing network that of schools to private schools. And two, oftentimes these are religiously based schools, which creates a real First Amendment issue as well, of the potential of public funding of religious education. So public money goes to public schools. That's just a line in the sand. And again, we go back to the legislature to fight that. And I fought that fight with my union. I'm a longtime member. ACC is unionized by the American Federation of Teachers, so I've been a longtime member of AFT 6249 and a board member. Fighting these fights with other education unions, and I'll keep doing that because that's what we need to do.
Certainly, and if I may, to those members who are tuning in and community members, David's background in his union was also very appealing to us. So he has quite a bit of experience in activism and collaboration, which was something that we really appreciated. So thank you for mentioning that, David. Okay, we are going to go back to President Katrina. Katrina, go ahead.
Under what circumstances might you support a tax ratification election to increase the maintenance and operations rate?
It's a last resort. I did support one when at ACC back in 2014. We fought for a tax ratification election, which unfortunately we barely lost, which would have provided more money for salaries, basically. And you know, the first choice is really to get money from federal and state funds, so that the overall community is helping out, you know, lower income communities like Del Valle. But you know, if it comes to it, if we do really need more money, then we need to find ways to do that, and at the same time protect low income communities, and you know, make sure that I mean, because new people are moving into this area. That's just unavoidable. There's new development. Tesla's going to escalate that. It's happening in my district, where we've had new complexes like the Edison and the Radius complex that have been built, and Austin Colony, as in other parts, Easton Park. I mean, all of these areas. I mean, new people, new families are moving in, and you know, we've just, you know, if we have to do that, we'll look at it and find ways to do it. But you know, it's not the first option at this point. As I said, we're going to have to figure out ways to get money from the outside. You know, the state of Texas, I mean, it owes more to us and to and other you know, low-income communities and rural districts that get underfunded, and urban. You know, we're actually an interesting district, having both really urban and rural components, and different types. Sort of, you know, my district is actually within the city limits, and it is more urban, but we have to figure out ways to balance those urban and rural parts of the district, and it's a challenge.
Thank you, David. We will go back to our treasurer, George. George, go ahead.
How important is the issue of quality, affordable healthcare? Please elaborate.
I mean, it's one of the top issues that I've fought for in my union work, because as an adjunct at ACC, we don't, many of our adjuncts do not get full health insurance benefits. You actually have to teach 4 classes per semester, and most adjuncts get 3 in order to even qualify for half-time benefits. So, you know, access to healthcare has been vitally important to me. Again, I've fought for it at the legislature. We passed a bill there, I forget how many sessions ago, 4 or 5 sessions ago, to try to make healthcare better, more accessible. You know, but you know, it's a human right. We have to say that. And by the way, it's maybe a little tangential to the school board, but it is. I do have to say, so is housing. I drive down Riverside all the time, and I see people that aren't housed, and that's a human right too, and it needs to be. And it affects healthcare also, because you know what? If we had homes for all those people, if they were living someplace safe, their healthcare costs would be a lot less. But that's a tangent, but I felt but I should mention. But in any case, back to healthcare. I get my healthcare through the ACA, because my employer is unreliable. I get it on the exchanges from Blue Cross. So you know, it's personal to me. It's personal that at this very moment, the Senate's about to confirm a justice who will probably, you know, vote to overturn the ACA. We have to make sure that all of our families have access to health care. I'm hoping that the Biden public option plan is implemented, and then we have to get out there and make sure that everybody has that access. That's one of the reasons I mentioned the idea of community schools, of more wraparound services being available. I'm very glad that at least every campus has a campus nurse. That is not true throughout Texas, unfortunately, and that's a good step. And you know, maybe there are ways we can Also, of course, Central Health has been very disappointing in not having provided enough healthcare services in this district. And again, that's a little beyond schools, but it's something that the school board can be reaching out and working with Central Health to make sure that happens, in this district. And related also, we're in a food desert, and a lot of people are talking about, HEB coming in. So that at least we have more access to fresh foods in these districts. I mean, all of that's related. And I mentioned sex education. Again, that's part of a healthy lifestyle, and that our students need to know about. And, they just do. I mean, a lot of school districts in Texas only offer abstinence sex education. We know that's ridiculous. So AISD just upgraded their sex ed program. And I think we really need to make sure, and there'll be some resistance. There are people, there are families that are kind of conservative on these issues, but it's something we can and we should do.
Thank you. We do appreciate your larger perspective and the knowledge that you have about how all of these issues are intersectional. So thank you for touching on that. Okay, we are going to go back to Jason for the next question. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, David, given the pandemic, obviously health and safety is a top priority for DVE members right now. What measures will you take to ensure that the schools in Del Valle remain safe for staff and students during this pandemic?
I mean, we have, again, this comes back to follow the science, follow the CDC guidelines, and just a reality that no student, no staff member, no teacher should be forced to return to campus if that will endanger their health or endanger the health of other members of their family. That has to be a red line. That has to be absolute. We just can't, put people in the position that, they're going to lose their jobs if they don't go back to work. And people need to be compensated fairly. One of my biggest disappointments in the current school board, and frankly my opponent, is the vote against the double pay for frontline workers last, I believe it was in April, just as the pandemic was starting. There was a proposal that came from the administration, and the administration said, we need to give double pay to the bus drivers and the food workers that are delivering meals. And some of the arguments I heard from board members, it was a very sad situation where they weren't willing to do that. And, people that are frontline workers really need to be compensated fairly, given the resources that they need. And as I said, just follow the science. I mean, I know that, I'm doing virtual teaching, by the way. I mean, just like many of you, although I'm dealing with adults. That's easier. Mine are 17, 18, and, in their 20s usually, and that's easier. I don't know how the elementary school people, do anything with the younger kids virtually. You're miracle workers. I mean, is all I can say. But I know, any of the virtual stuff is not ideal, but people's health, their safety is going to come first. We can figure out ways to help people catch up on educational deficits that will likely be created. God willing, we'll have a vaccine by maybe midsummer. I mean, realistically, and then we'll be able to, get back to some version of normal, I hope. I mean, I'm glad that ACC is staying online in the spring, and I'll be teaching on, like this on Zoom for the next 6 months. but I know you all don't fully have that luxury, and we just have to make it as safe as possible. And whatever you all need, whether it's plastic or ventilation or hand washing stations and whatever you need, we have to do our very best to provide for, and figure out later where the money comes from if necessary. I mean, we can't just say it's too expensive to protect people's health. I mean, I will, I'm not going to, I'd be one of 9 members, but I don't want that to happen.
We certainly appreciate your comments, especially considering our frontline workers. As you may be aware, many of our frontline workers are hourly workers, and something that our union has taken a great deal of pride in is advocating for our hourly workers alongside our professional staff. And so we definitely appreciate that.
And if I can just add, all of our workers are educators. Anyone who works in an educational institution, maintenance, maintenance counselors, janitors, they're all part of the educational process. They should all be viewed as educators. At least that's the way I've always seen it at ACC, and I think the way I would see it at Del Valley.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, I will ask the next question, and that is, what actions will you take to address the school to prison pipeline and to ensure that this does not become part of Del Valley ISD culture?
I mean, this is a fundamental question. And it's not just in Del Valley, it's all over the country. We took some good steps recently, the current board, in terms of moving towards having an internal police force. I think that, and I think we're moving the direction of restorative justice policies that emphasize rehabilitation and reconciliation. We really shouldn't be bringing in any sort of outside police unless there's real violence or threat of violence. All of those things, and then that we can do locally. And then I keep going back to the bigger picture because as I said, no man is an island, no school district is an island. And I think actually Del Valley's been a bit of an island at times, kind of separated from the larger communities. So the larger thing is going back to the legislature, working for criminal justice reform, and that includes decriminalizing marijuana. I think that has to happen. We have to move towards systems of drug treatment instead of punishment for drug use, and all of those sorts of things, so that we're not getting our students into the criminal justice system over petty issues. It's also, of course, connects to the Black Lives Matter movement and to all of these issues of systematic racism, which locally, we need to be teaching about, as I mentioned before, and training our staff, to make sure that they understand what's involved with the issues of systematic racism and systematic bias. So again, all that also fits with some of the issues of community schools and wraparound services that we need to have in Del Valley. There's a lot here, and everything can't happen at once, can't happen immediately, but we need to be thinking proactively and looking towards the future, and building a better future for our students. It's interesting because my grandmother was a kindergarten teacher, so education in that sense runs in my blood, and it has always been part of my life. We've just got to make sure that the opportunities are there, and that when our students complete their education, well, certainly we want them to be prepared. They're either workforce ready or ready to go on to for training at a place like ACC or ready to go to a four-year university. Because it's when that isn't the case, that's really when issues like the school to prison pipeline become an issue. So let's all move forward together.
I like that. I think the idea of helping our kids where they're at now and then thinking about where we're all going in the future is a really great outlook. And again, we appreciate your more of a global perspective and your background in activism and your predisposition to question and to seek information. So that's actually all that we have for you. But before we let our viewers go, did you want to let people know one more time where can they go to find out more information about you in case they have more questions or possibly donate to your campaign? If you want to share that with us.
Sure. davidfordelvalley.com. And you can see all the proposals I have, more on my background. And yes, there's a donate button there. And, money matters. We've got mailers going out to people in the district. We're doing text messaging. We're making phone calls. And, we're not doing door knocking. That really isn't safe. But that would in a normal year. We've got signs up. We're doing everything to make sure that we win this. And I hope that at 7 o'clock on Tuesday we have results that are clear and that we can start moving forward. And we want this district to be truly great, and that is it has a lot of it's had to deal with a lot of systematic racism and structural problems, and lots of people that are ESL students, and these are difficulties, but we can maybe it sounds cliche now to say that we can overcome, but it's true. So as I said, let's just all move forward to build a better Del Valley.
Great. Well, we are certainly looking forward to doing that together. Again, for anyone watching, for more information, you can head over to davidfordelvalley.com. And I just want to take a minute to thank Jason, George, Katrina, thank you for your time. And David, of course, thank you for being here with us tonight. We are looking forward to working with you in the future in any way that we are able to. For those of you all who are watching too, please remember that early voting ends on the 30th. Election day is November 3rd. Please make sure that you make a plan to vote and get out there and make your voice heard. All right, we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.